Ding! This little piece of puppeteering is going to illustrate a particular thing I noticed today whilst wheeling on my new road tyre, which is very pointy, as you can see there. And this little other unicycle is going to represent our square unicycle, and I'm literally going to puppeteer this little sucker. Okay, so let's just imagine they're both rolling down the road, and this guy, you know, he can swing like this, and then he can like lean his legs and then keep the wheel upright and sort of throw it back this way, and then, you know, keep the wheel upright and throw it back this way. And this is a technique called carving. It's part of a technique of carving. Carving is, from my understanding, basically just swinging the wheel left and right. That's the general idea of carving. There's various ways to carve where you can sort of throw the wheel upright more so like this, so that, or you can, you know, just lean it like this, or you can keep yourself more stiff and just like lean like a robot, like, you know, whatever. So there's various ways that carving can be done and what it means to carve. Sometimes you carve under braking, possibly, is something I also do, because it adds to what the wheel's doing, and you can sort of bite it in, you know, as you come to a halt, and you sort of go, row, row, and like each bite that you take can really, like, you know, bite down on the tyre. So there's lots of reasons why people carve, you know, generally to add stability. Carving is done. I just had to tack that into the video. Sometimes when you hit a rock or a pothole, the wheel can like jump up in the air and go like that, and sometimes if you like forcibly start doing stuff, then you're forcing the wheel back into what you want it to be doing, versus like when it bounces over something and it flies through the air like this. And so sometimes you can just like throw it into a carve and like take control like you own the thing, you know, and do that. And this square tyre here, I want to illustrate that, like when I want to, like, if I get my body weight and go like this, it's like goes vroom, vroom, vroom. And you imagine the whole time I'm travelling down the road, and so there's this lot of sideways grip there, and of course, if you know, you go over a Humpty Dumpty or whatever, and the wheel pretty much stays straight, and your job is to stay on top of the wheel, of course. And you know, if you lean over, you can carve it like this, and you know, you're thinking, yeah, all good. And then you swap to your road tyre, and you come over here. Let's see if I can puppeteer the other side as well. And so you want to turn, and it's just like warm. Here we go. It's like whoa, and then it's like, and then you're like this, and it's like wow, and then you get the wheel upright and it slides across the surface like this, and then you think shit, and so you like, you know, carve back this way, and it just like snaps this way, of course, and then you like straighten up, and if you just sit on top, it'll just slide across the surface upright, and so you like, you know, bank hard back the other way. And hence the nature of this pointed tyre is that it's extremely responsive like that. It just, oh, my whole entire universe is moving there. It's very responsive this way. So if you step off your wheel and you're standing there waiting to go, and you know, and then it's like, oh, it's time to go. So you leap up in the air, and then the microness of this movement while you're about to put your foot on there, you know, you've got like micro on this way, and it's like, whoa, this sucker's over, it's leaning over here, and it's like, get your foot on there, and it's like, whoosh, and then whoom, whoom, like this, you know. Much more so than this guy here, who, when he's stopped, you know, he like leaps up onto the wheel, and it's like leaning this way, and it's like, you know, starting to take off that way, and then it's like, yeah, and it's like, oh, straighten up. Whereas, yeah, with this road tyre, because of the sheer pointiness of it and the instantaneous movement that you get, I've found several times where it's like, go to get on and you're on some really nasty gravel in that. And I'm talking about interesting conditions, not just super smooth glass-like conditions. And that, you go to get on and then it's like when you do step on, it's like, whoom, you go right round in a circle and stop dead. And like when you're taking off, you're only at walking speed in deep gravel, so it's not really a big problem. But it's another thing to overcome. And I think what I wanted to point out today with my interesting puppeteering here is when you do get a carve on with this wheel, when you come to the end of the carving movement, and what would often be seen to be done by many wheel riders is to keep the wheel upright but start to swing back. I'm just going to move this other dude out of the road a bit. Just imagine he's like getting out of the road of this business. So this dude here, he's carving and like, okay, he comes in hard again and he's carving again. And then he swings the wheel like this, and keeping the wheel upright. The wheel don't carve back this way. It slides across the surface like that. Just snake. And you're thinking, oh my God. And so you lean hard like this. And then you're off back this way. And this is the difference, in my opinion, between these two tyres. And so the street tyre is amazing on the concrete, of course. But all these issues are there. Like this, what I'm talking about, this horizontal sliding across the surface, if you do deep carving while keeping the wheel upright rather than like diving into it, which is what you end up sort of having to do, is you have to dive hard like this with the wheel more so to get a carve on, whereas this thing, the wheel can sort of be kept upright more and sort of swung like this from left to right while keeping the wheel upright, if you can see what I'm doing there. Slightly more so than just like leaning over on it. And it's like you are leaning over on it when you're cornering, of course, but I'm trying to emphasize a point, is that when you come to the end of the carve with this guy, if you keep the wheel upright, you easily just slide across the surface like that. And like I can be riding down the road, like this, and just go, yeah, and just actually slide the wheel straight across the surface like that. I can do that just on a road, on like a tar seal road, like blazing along, and then just think, oh, whooah, and just like bam, like that, and then just like, And here's one more thing to add to this tyre, which is I'm blazing along thinking, yeah, awesome. And then I think, oh, I'll sit down, and it's like, just as you sit down with this tyre, much more so because of the sheer responsiveness again of this tyre versus, this thing here on the right here coming up. He's about to sit down and he's like, oh yeah, I'll sit down, and it's like, the thing is like this, and it's like, and it's like that, and and it's like, of course, if you want to dive and carve, you can, but it just has a lot of sideways resistance to movement, this wheel. And so to sort of, pull it this way, the tyre does compress. I'll try and do it with my finger. But it sort of does compress like that, but there's so much more flat to it that it runs a lot more straighter than the street tyre would. And these are unicycle conditions, so these are very unique conditions to using tyres, and these are my experiences so far. And I just wanted to share that because it's quite interesting. It's quite different what you get from each of these tyres. So just take care, build up if you're swapping between tyres or wheels. Please just really be careful. There is that comment about how you wear it more so than ride it, and that's a nice description. You get used to it and it becomes quite natural, and after a while, like you'd be riding along down the road and, you know, this sort of thing, and, you know, sometimes the wheel is bumping and rolling and moving and you're sort of swishing it a little bit like this, and it becomes so natural that it's like you're not thinking about, you know, what you're going to do or how you're riding or that your legs are even attached, you know, that you're just floating along on the thing. And I just wanted to point that out. And of course, to watch out for, you know, how would you do it? Fully overthrowing it. So, you know, you sort of go, and then you go, and it's like, you know, just one last little thing is just that, you know, sometimes there seems like a lot of carving, but it depends, you know, what you're doing. Like, you know, sometimes if you hit a little bump or whatever, and it can be just, you know, quite subtle like that, where, you know, get the wheel might go like that a bit, and so you just think, you know, just move it over a little bit or whatever, or just lean on it a bit. So sometimes what happens is quite subtle and you don't really notice it, and then other times, you know, you know, fully getting on the thing. And of course, let's not forget braking. You know, of course, this thing breaks as it does. If it wobbles much, it's not much, and generally a little bit of carving towards the braking. This is just how I ride. You know, all pretty good. Whereas this thing, I feel like trying to brake hard in a straight line where you've only got like one point finger hitting the ground, clawing, you know, versus this thing here, which has got like all these fingers like clawing at the road trying to stop you. When braking, you know, three-dimensionally heading that way in a straight line like that, versus I feel like with this tyre I do need to like carve hard. So I go, meow, wow, wow, like that. And it's like, that's sort of, you know, and sort of getting the gravity of each bite to, you know, sort of like pull down on the wheel like this as you're coming to a halt. Because it just seems like this road tire is, to me, maybe more of a expert tire, you know, than this one here. This one is very forgiving. It travels very straight, you know, and all these things. And this one is very responsive, and yeah, they're different tires, and they're ridden, in my opinion, quite differently. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Watch out for train tracking, literally with train tracks.